Good morning, everyone. My name is Ron Visconti, and you're with Phase Two Careers. And in a moment, you're going to be with Randy Block. And we're kicking off um, Experience Worker Week, Phase Two Week, and just to have conversations about the older worker and where we fit and ways that we could be more incorporated in the workforce. So today, Randy's going to give a talk about the older worker now, future, and actionable suggestions. On Wednesday, we're doing something slightly different. We're going to have a forum which will have four facilitators on different issues related to the older worker. And so you could go in one of those breakout rooms and have a conversation. And finally, on Friday, Sarah Hart is going to talk about Prime Spark. It's your time, kind of tackling the tough stuff, but also the motivational stuff of what makes us different. And it's inspirational. So hopefully you'll join us on all the other workshops or webinars we have. On Friday, there's a slight fee to be part of it. And if you're new to Phase Two, we're a nonprofit for the overworker, professional. We've been around since 2010. We do job search, career development, and small business programs. Um, so Randy. Why Randy? He's one of the premier baby boomer experts. What to do if you're a baby boomer and you're in the middle or the end of your career. He brings both high tech experience as a coach and also as an executive level coach. He's been requested on a variety of topics. We have him come back all the time about trends, what's going on in the market. And here's a little place to learn about Randy. But Randy does his research and really walks the talk and really knows a lot about what's going on in the workplace. Hi, Randy. How are you?
Good, Ron. Thanks for having me. And the pay, by the way, the pay is good giving these presentations for you.
It's overwhelming,
Yeah,
Randy.
I can't. I mean, it's just I have no place to put the money anymore. It's kind of like Breaking Bad. I have all these container boxes full of money. Can I share my screen yet, Ron?
Yeah, go right ahead.
All right. Oh, let's see. Wait a second here. You and I've been through this before, and oh, share my desktop. There we go. Can everybody see my desktop? No.
Yeah, you're gonna
Can
now have to
can you
put
see
it.
it now?
Yeah, you have to put it in transition or slideshow mode.
Well, thank you. I just wanted to make sure that I was good. Okay. Come on, kids. Don't let me down. There we go. Yeah, this is a little animated stuff here. Thanks, Ron. Can I start, or do you want to say something
Yeah,
else?
no,
I'm sorry.
go right ahead.
Okay, great. This one, Ron goes out for breakfast. I take over. No, I the welcome everybody. It's a pleasure as always to talk to to talk about this. Ron and I have made some videos about this very topic, and let's see. Hold on a second here. I got to go on to the next. Oh boy, this so much for my PowerPoint 365. I wonder what's going to come up next. Okay, so basically, we thought a lot about it. I mentioned earlier that I can sometimes be the senior person in the world in the world. Oh God, no, in the room, and I feel good about that. But here's the first thing I wanted to mention. When I have Microsoft 365, Office 365, and I punched in the name of my title that I was looking, and they have what they call customizable slides. And they saw the word old. They saw the word older. Hence, you see the reading glasses over here. But as I went through it, and they made recommendations, there was another one where it showed a bunch of figures, and they all had canes. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Um,
Right.
hmm. You know, what can I say, Ron? But anyway, oh my goodness gracious. So without further ado, I wanted to at least talk about, there we go. Huh. Okay. Hold on, guys. I just want to, there we go. Okay. One of the things I wanted to mention, I'm sorry, this is a kind of a new I've got a new system here. Today and how we got here. And I'd like to start off with a personal story. Roughly in 1987, the DVD was made available to all of us for movies. And my dad, who's now of course passed away, my dad worked for Kodak. Of course, he was interested in film, and I showed him a DVD, and I said, "Dad, there's a movie on this disc," and he just stared at it for the longest time. He was a mechanical engineer, and he never quite adapted to it. He never got over it. I mean, he went on with his life, but he never really understood it. And the second thing was he never trusted ATMs. He always went into the bank to get cash, and he wrote a check. Well, at any rate, basically, well, I wanted to discuss a little bit about today and how we got here, and seems like it's that our society has been, is now, and always be youth obsessed. Don't have to tell you what the evidence is of that. I know, for example, they're always looking at the young because they look better, they don't have the wrinkles, et cetera, et cetera. I think sometimes the older civilizations, like the elder and they treated them well, but it's still kind of that kind of thinking, but not just on the part of the general populace, but also I find that some of my senior clients also make jokes about their age, and that doesn't help. So basically, the workplace has evolved over time. From the 70s, and we're going to talk a little bit about the 70s to the 90s. Collaboration was highly encouraged, meetings, etc. That we were pretty much wanting to talk to each other. There wasn't a feeling of, and I remember this, there wasn't a feeling of separateness, of independence, of being, hey, you're kind of on your own, and technology, of course, hadn't evolved either that encouraged that. But we were all in cubicles. We had been exposed to email and word processing, but there were the days of hard copies, landlines, and faxes. Okay, from 2000 to today, pretty much the comfortable workplace has been encouraged. I think cubicles, by and large, are not making a comeback. That's not comfortable. And so again, the younger generation has spoken out on this, but that's kind of where we're encouraged today. The way we work and how we make decisions, and et cetera, that has changed dramatically. And how we collaborate certainly has changed. It's not so much the in-person personal where we used to put that into the mix. It's a little bit more distant. And this is this is Randy talking here. The rise of the machines. Basically, technology pretty much has taken over, and it's in the process of being taken over in the workplace. So basically, I'm setting the stage for the rest of my presentation, but just keep some of this in mind for the future. So today, the older worker, I brought this up with Ron a few times, the career plateau. I'm a big believer that the employee is totally responsible for their own career development. And the career plateau is defined as where a person gets to a certain plateau. It could be individual contributor, it could be a line manager, it could be C-suite, whatever. But they get to a certain level and that's it. They have a tendency to coast. They have a tendency to, hey, I don't have to work as hard as I used to. And that is something that I warn my clients about. Be careful of that one. And usually workers at the career plateau, and we've seen this, companies have a tendency to lay them off because what they were doing over and over again in their comfortability, in their not paying attention, uh, they're the first ones to be laid off. Uh, it's typically felt today that boomers, in general, the older worker, at least boomers born 1946 to 64, they're not going to be replaced by other boomers. Gen X has bided their time, and they now want to run it. And as we know, as AI begins to deflate the workforce and makes it more productive, there just aren't there are not those layers of management anymore, and so it doesn't make a lot of sense for a boomer to be replaced by another boomer. So they're going to be looking for the younger. Learning and development are provided for the young worker. Unless the older worker speaks up and wants to learn, you've got to speak up. Learning and development is for the 20 and 30 somethings, and in some cases, maybe the cutoff is like mid 40s. Uh, Again, they're still learning. Okay, they're building their careers. What do you need? Boomers, by and large, I keep saying boomers, but the older worker pretty much overall, if we look at them as like age 45 and up, pretty much has either reached the pinnacle or there's no other place to go. Uh, they, I just had, I just had my fiance's brother came to visit us, and he's a 50-something engineer. He's a 51-year-old engineer, and this is exactly what's happening to him. He is absolutely being passed over. They're all those great assignments are being given to younger engineers, and that's just a microcosm. But this is what's going on. This is what's going down. Now, family and work balance are not important to the older worker anymore. Now, you might look at this as a negative. I see it as something that, the 20, 30 somethings are having children, and where work-life balance matters. And they're torn, much like we were when we were building our careers, about, oh, you're not home anymore. The spouse says, and you're traveling more. Well, I'm still building my career. It takes time and effort. But at a certain age, the kids are grown. That you don't have that urge to now. Work-life balance can still matter to an older worker. I don't want to be working a 60-hour week, even though sometimes my clients will say, by God, I've got a 60-hour week left in me. And I'm saying, yeah, just for 1 week, maybe after that you can have a heart attack. So there's that. This is a big one. Older workers will not take orders from a younger manager. There was a film called Lost. Here we go, back to movies. There's a film called Lost in America, and I just can't remember the two leads. But they quit.
Brooks.
Well, what was it?
Albert Brooks.
Albert Brooks. Thank you. You saw the movie, and they quit their jobs. They decided to go out to America and see what's out there. And they ultimately needed jobs, and he became a crossing guard. But initially, I think it was she or he was working for a young manager at a fast food restaurant. They're saying, huh? You're telling me what to do? But see, older workers can work for leaders. Now, that's a big caveat, but not for a manager. The classic manager, and by the way, the younger managers know that. Okay, so and unfortunately, older workers are viewed as obstacles. Not a researcher, kind of in the way of younger people moving up. Hey, you've been a VP here for a long time. I want your job. Well, I'm not going anywhere till I retire. Well, okay. It's not good. Okay. So we're going to be talking a little bit about trends now. And I wanted to mention something, first of all, that right now, older workers comprise of about 50 million right now in the workforce. By 2030, it's expected that they'll be like they'll be close to 110 million by the year 2030. I'm going to mention something that I read just yesterday, and it's going to sound a little sexist I have to do the exact quote. It's a Mayan proverb, and it says, "When an old man dies, a library, well, not a library, it's not Mayan. Didn't go back that far. Uh, oh boy, I wish I could quote that. Just not anyway. When an old man dies, a library is burned to the ground. Something important to remember." I wish I could remember. It's just an old proverb from somewhere. Maybe it wasn't Mayan because they didn't have libraries back then. Okay, the hybrid workplace. It's an evolution, not a revolution. It's going to, regardless of what you read, and it's the micromanager's nightmare. It's going to continue to evolve, and because people, the person that commutes from Gilroy to Mountain View, they just don't want to do that anymore. There's a bunch of reasons. It's got to be about results, okay, and it's no longer about control. It's and true leaders and managers for that matter are going to arise that can manage and lead this. Um, AI machine learning accelerates at warp speed. That's true, especially now during COVID. Uh, a study came out from Oxford 2 years ago that said if you can make a decision, if you have to make a decision in less than five seconds or less, it will be automated. And certainly any position where there's repetitive work, where the work is repetitive, and you can figure that out for yourself, will also be automated. This is by 2025. It's an estimate of 15 million jobs ultimately are going to be eliminated. I read McDonald's, the drive-through is going to become strictly robotic. Could be fun, I suppose. Can I have your order, sir? Huh? You know, uh, the biggest job in work gains. This is the half of this is a new healthcare, but there's a thing called social assistance. And I had to look that one. All this, by the way, is from the BLS, Bureau of Labor Statistics. But a social assistance is really about aging, people getting older at some point. Uh, there's another little thing I want to put in here also that is kind of cool, and that is that 90 is the new 60. You may want to, if you get nothing else from this talk, get that mantra. That what's his name? Oh, Shatner went to the moon. He's 91, or he went into outer space. I mean, there's a bunch of stuff that's going to be happening, and they simply can't ignore people with this kind of wisdom and resources. Not like William Shatner, but the idea is that there is. We will be doing a lot of things on our own. As a matter of fact, social assistance, and you can actually look this up. There's going to be plenty of jobs available there. Okay. Next one here. And work is going to become more project oriented. I've been saying this for years, and it's becoming true. That my dad worked for Kodak for 50 years. I know some people that worked for HP for 30 years, et cetera, et cetera. But I think long-term employment, just in general, I don't know how an organization, the Japanese started this. It was womb to tomb with the Japanese. They don't offer that. They haven't offered that forever, for a long time. And it's up to you, the worker, to be sure that as you're working on a project, you line up your next one or what's next. And so it's basically it's a great way for companies to run things, organizations to run things, because they want to hit the market windows, they want to satisfy customers, etc. But when that's over, they can't really afford to keep people around unless they're already working on another project. Did this again. Here we go. The need for short-term professional services is going to increase. It's interesting. I listened to public radio, and they were saying companies that produce products like refrigerators, that kind of thing, have been manufacturing's been hit pretty hard. But what's coming back quicker are services. That sector is coming back pretty quickly. So that's good news for people that are in the service business. Brick and mortar, not a big surprise here, and retail is expected to continue to go down hills. I keep reading about banks closing branches. We had this beautiful building up here, we Chase in Novato. It was gorgeous. It was beautiful inside, and now it's for sale. So what can be done? We're here at kind of a, and I've talked to companies actually. Some of my clients go to work for companies, and they are working. But one of the ways that they can accommodate the older worker, and that can be age 50. It doesn't matter. Older can be. We can define it as over 40, over 45, over 50, over 60, over 65. And companies are missing the bet, but they can perhaps with benefits, but to part-time and then consulting. Too many times, hey, here's your gold watch, get the hell out of Dodge, and we don't want to ever hear from you again, which I think is bad. They're cutting their nose off to spite their face. I mentioned at the beginning, older workers stop contributing to the aging stereotype. I remember Tim Conway on the Carol Burnett show. Some of you may remember he was the man with the white hair shuffling around all the time. This has been building over and over again with people that we laugh at old people's jokes. You go to the you go to the pharmacy or something and look at birthday cards, and there's not one birthday card that refers to sexism, to making jokes about women, to making jokes about minorities, etc., or the disabled. But what you do get a lot of birthday cards is they're laughing at age. Can you, or gag gifts? Here's your Maalox. And we're doing this to each other, and it perpetuates the stereotype. My dad, I can say a lot of things about him because he's passed away. But he used Grecian formula to keep his hair black because gray hair was not good back then. But this continues to go. But it's not. We help the younger people to contribute to this stereotype. Now, I do want to make an exception. That's Maude Frickert. I think Jonathan Winters was hysterical. But anyway, I read this somewhere in terms of getting along with your younger colleagues. Project the same professionals, kind of resonate with their professionalism, and you'll have to find out what that is. And it can vary a little bit, but it's not necessarily a jacket and tie, or or a suit, or that younger colleagues don't dress the way we do. Okay, but I have seen some well-dressed 20-somethings really looking good with, say, a shirt or maybe a vest. There's just things that you're going to have to be aware of, and it can help sometimes if you match what. And I can answer questions about this later, but at any rate, by the way, and a lot of people that I've coached, and I'm speaking from personal experience with people, with my older clients, there's a sense that they're owed something. What I accomplished, you owe this to me. I think that attitude has to simply go away completely. You're not owed anything as an older worker. Or entitlement, or a sense of entitlement. We often complain about millennials with a sense of entitlement. That's changing, from what I can gather. In all networking, we all have things that we have common ground in, such as the needs. And if you've attended any of my presentations before, you know about the two needs, and that's productivity and revenue. That's the same for millennials. That's the same for Gen Xers. It's the same. It's the same. Which, by the way, a side note, I have a tendency to think laterally. Bear with me. But I read an article. There was an article recently that came out on Sunday, and again, I can't quote my source, but they were saying now Gen Xers are looking over their shoulders to Gen Z, because Gen Z is talking about climate change. Gen Z is talking about bringing everybody together. They love the idea of old and young working next to each other. They care about social issues. They care about diversity. I was hoping one generation would grasp that, but apparently they are. And they're asking the hard questions of Gen Xers. And this is great. Go for it. The advice I give a lot of people, and mainly this is age 50 and over, to be honest, but mentoring, coaching, and consulting. I have been hired by Gen Xers and millennials on their own without being referred by their parents. That they will listen. Okay, they will listen to the wisdom that you have. They may not want to hire you full time, but they do. Mentoring, coaching, and consulting are huge. Are something that they really value by and large. Just stay out of their technology. Okay. And relevancy is the only factor you can control. I'm going to talk about relevancy in the next slide, but basically relevancy to what the other person is about, what their needs are, what's important to them. How relevant are you? You know, the old WIIFM is what's in it for me. And that's one of the ways you can get them to listen to you is, hey, what's in front of you, what's going on, to make sure that you understand. Okay, and I think I have one more slide. Oops, here we go. So what the older worker brings, and this is something that you ought to be proud of. Again, ages 45 and over. Will you stop that? Excellent work ethic. Every boomer, every older person that I've coached, always has an excellent work ethic. That's how we were made. That's how we grew up with it. Hard work. That's not in contrast to anybody else, to any other generation, but it's a biggie for us. Dedication, especially if it's something that we love and we believe in. We dedicate ourselves to it. Doesn't matter what ages. Punctuality and reliability. Have I read the riot act to millennials and Gen Xers who are late? You know, I tell them there's a consequence to being late for a coaching appointment. And one of the things is I keep the money, and I fire them. I have fired a couple of them when they didn't show up. I mean, I told them in advance, but that, you know, it's about respect. You know, is Rodney Dangerfield would say it's about respect. You know, loyalty. A lot of us, by and large, are loyal to the company. We're loyal to. We're not flighty. The biggest thing is that we're not building our careers anymore. We shouldn't have to be. This is it. You know, we are now. It's time to pass the torch, and we can do that comfortably. Honesty. Wow. You know, yeah, remember, just in general, you know, I'm sure there are some shysters out there who are spin doctors, whatever, but by and large, and there are a few politicians out there that I wouldn't try, I don't trust. But overall, I feel that honesty is a virtue. Detailed and focused. A lot of us have turned in. I never was a detailed person, and now I've turned into more of a detailed person. I'm highly focused, sometimes hyper focused. Maturity, the adult in the room. I said that earlier. I'm finding that. Well, let me firstly give you a very quick story. I visited my son in Japan, and in January. This was several years ago. And I decided I wanted to go to Hiroshima, and I did. And I found that when I was in the city and I was in the museum, I was the oldest person in the room and the oldest person on the streets, and that was a bit of a shock for me. So anyway, spent to you know, I'm in my 75th orbit around the sun, and I find that I'm often the adult in the room because there are 60-somethings, et cetera, or 50-somethings, and I listen, but I also understand what they're going through, and I'm starting to walk the walk here with some wisdom, some questioning, et cetera. You know, it's not telling people what to do anymore. It's more throwing out some influence and some ideas because hey, I've been down this road. Um, Confidence, absolutely. They bring confidence. Wisdom, as I just alluded to a second ago, from life's experiences. I recommend this book highly to anybody over age 50. Wisdom at Work: The Rise of the Modern Elder by Chip Conley. It's a great read. Chip has walked it himself, walked the walk here. He's got several examples of how people were able to, the 45 and older, were able to parlay this particular strength into into their careers and into the workplace, and even into the interview process. And again, I can answer questions if okay. I found this, which I thought was kind of interesting. I just stumbled on it, and I really like this. The word relevant. R is for risk. People ask me, what does it mean to stay relevant? Well, it's taking a risk in something you don't know a whole lot about. It's experimenting, which is the E. It's listen. This particular bullet I particularly like. You listen and learn and unlearn and then relearn all over again. If you're not doing that now, you got to start. I hate to sound didactic, but it's important. Took a brain course. I'm a licensed brain-based performance coach, and the brain loves learning, loves new things. And I see it in my clients when they're kind of like hashing the same thing out, and then we put together a tactic and they learn something new and they come back completely energized because they did something new. I can't say it enough. It's just amazing. And the idea is that if you're, it's like 5-6 years ago that I wish I could remember my sources on this, but they said 15 minutes of aggressive learning at any age, 30, 35, 40, 15 minutes of aggressive learning a day will you can delay dementia by 10, 15 years. It really, the brain, to keep that positive brain. You can even pick up a National Geographic and learn something and spend 10, 15 minutes reading that front to back and learning it. The brain will thank you for it. E is for engage, engaging with people, not hibernating, not just, I only, like, for example, if I only wanted to work with 70 somethings, it'd be boring for me. I like to engage with people that at all ages and from backgrounds and learn. But the thing is, I do make it about them. I do ask them questions about find out what's important to them, and then I engage in that way. Value. The value is knowing what your own values are, and that's always the key, I think, to networking is congruency of values, honesty and integrity, family. The working with others, making a lot of money, working independently, whatever. There are things we have in common. Oh, I do want to give that one story I gave in the video very briefly, and that is I was asked by a former client of mine who was teaching at Menlo College. He was teaching the business majors, and he brought me in to talk about careers, and I brought in a shortened values assessment, and I shortened it, and I came, but when we passed it out, there was like 40 kids in the 40 children, students in the class, and I had a sealed envelope, and I said I took the same assessment that you're about to take, and it's sealed. So we took it, and and then I went around the room to see who'd want to share theirs, and very much in my own dramatic fashion, kind of like the Academy Awards. Would anybody like to come up, open up the envelope, and see what mine are, and read it to the class? And we did. And do you know that my values, there were like 10 values, and we had values congruence on like 7 out of 10 with almost all the students in the class. Very eye-opening for me in terms of that, because what do kids know? Well, they know, but it's not necessarily what they know, but it's what they value, and that's why that's what the V means. The attitude of gratitude. Speaking of the positive brain, uh, gratitude is the gateway to staying positive, of your positive brain. It really does matter to have a positive attitude. And like one of the tactics I use with clients, especially if they're having a difficult time, is they wake up every morning and write on a sheet of paper 3 things they're grateful for. And the brain loves it and starts, it opens up to a much more a positive outlook for the day, even in the job search. No to negativity. This is a biggie. A lot of us are saying, "What's the use?" And I watched my dad, God bless him, but may he rest in peace. But he got more negative. The word crotchety. George Carlin got, in his acts the last 2 or 3 years, before he died, got more crotchety. I didn't enjoy him like I did before that. And you can list the more senior people in your lives that are more negative. Maybe life didn't turn out the way they wanted. Maybe nothing's okay. No, it's your job. That will help you stay relevant. Relevant. Sorry. Damn it. Sorry about that. I did that. Nothing to do with Ron. There we go. Give it a moment here. I'm sorry. I pressed the wrong button. Oh, for goodness sake. Okay. Unfortunately, I've got to go back down here again. And the T. We're all waiting for the T, aren't we? And time. We have to. I've noticed myself that because of my age, I'm very, very aware of time, how I spend it, who I spend it with, what I do. And that's, if you can start getting that earlier. I got that about 5 years ago. I turned 70, but if you get that, time is limited. We're on this earth for a short time, and making the most of it, and making sure that you are responsible for your own happiness, for your own career development, etc. And others cannot make. My coaches and my coaching associate, we disagree on this a little bit, but you are responsible for your own happiness. Other people cannot make you feel unhappy. And doing what you love and honoring what you like to do is important, because your well-being depends on it. I do want to give credit here. I stumbled across it. This fellow's name is Kaiser, Kayser, and he runs a media. He was a radio talk show host, and he came up with this. So I wanted to give him an affirmation on that. So, final words. Well, actually, after this, I have one more slide. Age discrimination is and will continue to be a factor when it comes to full-time employment. There's got to be another way, such as dipping into your wisdom, dipping into what you know, what you're good at, and pulling from that. It just will not necessarily come out as a full-time permanent position. Okay, and again, we can't put all of this on the backs of or make it all the younger generation's fault. We are contributing to it a lot ourselves, and one way is to stick up for ourselves and say, let's just talk about what's important. Let's talk about what's in front of you that needs to happen in the next 6 months. We're in a tactical world right now. And let's talk about the 3 ways that I can help you, which is full-time, part-time, and short-term contract. If you can offer leading with your personal brand, leading with a one-page summary or a bio, you're going to get a lot more traction that way. And yes, the temp to perm is a possibility, is a pretty good tactic. I mentioned work search versus job search. I just won't allow my over 55 people to pay for resumes. A resume, remember when they ask for a resume, it's usually saying that we are diverse and please send us your resume, and it goes right in, they delete it. Basically, work search is, again, with your personal brand, with the one-page summary, you're saying, hey, I can help you here. I can help you get through the next 6 months. But essentially, what we're finding is networking becomes even more critical based on common ground. But you want networking. Resumes basically stop networking in its tracks. Unless there's a job, and your network, by the way, your network does not know where the jobs are. That's not the purpose of networking. Nor is it selling. Networking is creating. I have, as Ron knows, I got a whole presentation on this. But networking is leading with a relevant brand. And right now there are four things: revenue, productivity, also AI, and COVID. How are people going to get things done through COVID? Because I read where there's another variant on its way. Here in New York, only in California, they found the other variant. So those relationships are key, very key, but it's not about full-time employment. A personal brand, I can't say this enough, a personal brand, when someone asks, what do? You simply say, this is my impact on a company, or this is my impact on an organization. Starts with a noun followed by like a verb or verbs and objects. We don't say title and we don't say how you do it, but the brand is extremely relevant to today. And all my clients find out how AI can be used in a tool, whether they're in finance, operations, marketing, sales. HR, especially right now, HR is becoming highly impacted by AI. It's pretty remarkable. Next HR person you talk to, ask them. Okay, I always have a parting shot as well. Moving power of your life. That was Joseph Campbell. So anyway, having purpose and a healthy brain and body benefits you, but guess what? It also benefits all of us. That's a Joseph Campbell quote. It doesn't, especially if you're thinking traditionally, learn, unlearn, relearn, all of that. I think you might find some really interesting stuff. And I have one more slide that I'm not, but this is and I'm offering everybody here on the call. This is my invitation to connect. There's my scheduler below, and there's a free 30-minute consultation. Email me if you want it. Anybody who's on the call here, I offer this, especially because it's Ron's people, and I've been doing this for a while. No charge. Let's talk about what's in front of you. We can talk more about what I've talked about or what's in front of you in terms of job search or career management. So I'll take questions from the floor. If there are any people on the floor, wake up.
No, we do have a small group, but you have created some conversation, and I'm seeing a lot of people talk. This is an excellent overview of what's going on and how it affects us. So let's welcome up questions. That's the whole idea of this week, to have questions and dialogues of what's going on.
Perfect. Thank you. That was by the way, I meant to preface my presentation. I wasn't here to solve anything as much as to start a discussion. Boy, it's so important. And maybe I said something people don't agree with. Fine, let me know. It's okay.
Yeah, Ruby, you had several comments. Do you want to unmute and tell us what you think are some pressing issues related to Randy's talk?
Who's this?
Ruby.
Hi, Ruby. You were the first in. Hi, Ruby. Earth to Ruby. Did she?
She said, can she use the chat? Well, I'll take one of her earlier comments.
That's fine, if you don't mind. Thanks.
One of her first comments, and let's see if you would want to comment on this, Randy, is she talked about there's intersectionalities and multiple stigmas if someone looks older. A woman, a minority, that stigmas layered upon one another. So that's an interesting point. So there's multiple.
What, she used the word sigma?
Yeah. So
Can she? I'm sorry. I don't
she,
know.
I'll
she's
unmute.
not
I'll
able
unmute.
to.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm just someone that suffers from multiple stigmas, like as someone who looks older and a woman and a minority.
I,
I
I gotcha.
said this to
Fine.
someone before and they used that term. And
Thanks,
someone else
Ruby.
said it was intersectionalities. So it just seems
Got
like
it.
things are even worse for me. Not to say there's
Ruby,
oppression.
Ruby, I would love it if you. I would love to give you a consultation. I really would.
Yeah.
Because there's two reasons. One is I would that there is something for us to talk about,
Hmm.
and but it would benefit you mainly, and I want to keep this to everybody, all the comments. But please, Ruby, I really would love to have you connect with me. Okay.
Okay.
But it's meetmeets.so Randy Block.
Okay.
Randy, I'm gonna chime in a little bit. It
Yeah,
seems like in reporting, it seems like this last several years, we haven't moved the dial on ageism. We
I would
haven't
agree. I would
moved the
agree.
dial. Um, any thoughts about that?
I think, well, yeah, there is. I mean, it's. I think if you understand that I also coach managers, et cetera, and uh, like making a law that they have to hire older people, making it a law that they have to hire women, making it a law that they have to hire more people of color. Uh, I've always been against uh, ah, having a certain percentage. I mean, it needs to reflect the community, but there is a way around. There is a way around this, and Ron, we discussed it, and that is you recruit. All the advantages. There are so many advantages to a diverse workforce. And what I like is Gen Z is literally calling millennials and their elders on this. I want to work for a diverse workplace. Uh, but the idea is that if you lead with a lot of this discrimination comes mainly hiring full time in the full time employment hiring world. Look, the hiring process in this case is broken. It's completely broken. And managers, I totally get it with managers that they do not want to be forced to hire somebody, but and I'm working with some of them on this. They need to see that with shared values, much like the experience at Menlo College for me, it was shared values. That's the start. You lead with that, and then you go from there about relevancy, et cetera, et cetera. As we know, Silicon Valley is white boy city, and I'm not telling lies out of school. It's been run by the white males for a long time. I was part of it back in the 70s. I admit it. And I've seen it work. I was told not, they didn't want to hire, uh, I was fired for it. I stood up anyway. They didn't want to hire a minority in this because it would be too upsetting. I've seen it and experienced it a long time ago, but I mean, there's no simple. But in moving the needle, it's not going to happen overnight. But I think what we start doing is what I said earlier: focus on the needs and be relevant to those needs, but focused on not trying to hire you full time. Get in front of people, and it's the sales model. You get in front of enough people with your brand in your bio, and you're relevant. You will, even if it's a short-term gig. I think, Ron, that's the best way to move the needle. Is much more of a gig approach, short term. You've got what they need, and I am having some success with my older clients with that. I've talked about the portfolio career. That's another one. Uh, you have one brand and you have three services that support that brand, and all the services are relevant, but they would never hire you full time, but they would hire you on a short term basis, regardless of your ethnic, your of your age, or what of your gender. we got to. I'm sorry, Ryan. That to me, that's the best way to move the needle. It really is.
Okay, no, I appreciate your answer. So we welcome questions. We've got a great, small, intimate group. This is a time for conversation. Let's hear your questions.
Hey, Ron, it's Larry. I remember one time we had some communication on this subject, and I've always found the term diversity to be very interesting because we know all the groups involved in diversity, but I think, as Randy said earlier, when it comes to diversity, the older worker is not part of the equation. I'm sorry. And I think you made the point once, Ron, where we were talking about some forms you fill out, when you apply for a job, we know what the questions are. And I think you said something to the effect, if there was a question on there about being an older worker, the entire attitude in the United States might change suddenly overnight. I think that was an interesting thought that you had on that, Ron.
Any comments, Randy?
Well, I think okay. Let's define the word need versus want. And I've said this before, and maybe Larry can actually repeat it, but no, a need is non-negotiable. As human beings, we need air and water. We need oxygen and water. Without those two things, we can't exist very long. So it's not pretty what happens to the human being. Take those two away. All right. So, but organizations have only two needs, and that is revenue and productivity. That's it. Everything else is a want. The wrong question to ask any organization is, what do you want? That you'll get a whole slew of answers on that, because wants will change almost monthly. The right question is, what do you need to be successful until April 1st? Between now and April 1st of next year, what needs to happen? And they need to be able to talk to that. And you're filtering their response based on, is this a want, or if they really thought it through. We need this to happen, increase market share, or we need this to happen. We're still wasting a lot of time doing. That's a need, okay. But once you get into the wants, they're almost changeable. They seem they changeable like the weather. Thank God, it's raining up here. But I think it's you got to help them think it through sometimes, Larry. And I think, yeah, diversity. You're absolutely right. Ageism is not considered diverse. Part of diversity, and it's up to us to try and put that there. I have been working on that. That's what Ron and I have been working on with our videos. It needs, and I'll go back to that old saying that when a man dies, a library burns to the ground. There's something to that, and we value that, but it's our job to make sure that the younger generations see that. What they don't want is us interfering with their technology. They grew up with screens. I didn't grow up with a screen. They grew up with cell phones. I didn't. They have a different attitude towards the technology. I will say, however, that there are some millennials now who are like late 20s, early 30s. From what I can gather, they're questioning their career choices, which is a good thing. So that they have options. But I think the wisdom piece is important. You can look at technology all you want. And AI is the hot one right now. I've seen so many technologies come and go, but I think AI is here with us. Is here for a long time. But the other place I would go is, is talking to younger people. I mean, everybody must know some younger people. Maybe there's some grandparents here or some uncles. Talk to them about what their lives, what's your life like? What's your job like? I mean, I've attached myself to a couple of groups with younger people, a couple of discussion groups. I've learned a lot. I'm not. But the one thing you give out wisdom. You give out. You're a mentor. You're not really a coach. Uh, people, I'm starting to see, I'm getting a little traction around the wisdom part. I got guys calling in from these group for a couple of these groups and saying, you know, you're a guy who I think I can talk to. Okay. And it's not a technical problem, but you know, it's a people problem. My son Jeremy, he's 30, and he's starting to look at the people that are part of it. He knows how important networking is. He's the son of a career coach, you know, but he's starting to really look at how important that relationships are not formed through technology.
Well,
As
thank
much
you.
as as much as LinkedIn would like to think about they're a great networking group, I'm sorry, it's not until we talk to each other. Well, it can be on Zoom, fine, or even audio only. But you don't create. I got a friend from LinkedIn. We've been going back and forth, and I know his background. And he sounds like a really good person. Well, no one's going to say anything bad, or no one's going to really reveal themselves on social media, are they? No. If they're smart, they won't.
So thank you for that. Any questions or comments? So technology is a big piece of today's
Ah,
world.
Mia. No, Anna. Anna's got a question. Hello, Anna. How are you? I can
Okay,
Hi,
see you.
Randy.
There she is. Hi, Anna.
Hi, Randy. No, I was just wondering, I was very curious when you said, uh, let's look into AI. And I'm wondering, as somebody who works with technology, but now I guess playing the devil's advocate, don't
Please
you
do,
think
Anna. I love it. Go ahead.
Don't you think that sometimes, I don't know, I'm thinking of the algorithms, the mysterious algorithms behind these social media
Right.
platforms, AI and all this, they're just like furthering stereotypification. I don't know if that's a word, but
No, 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 no. I appreciate that. No, what I love about AI is you don't have to know about how the box was designed. You don't have to know what the algorithms are. It's important to know, I think, who designed the algorithms. And the last time I checked, 80% of algorithms that are being developed are white males. And that's important to know because bias can be built in from a white male standpoint. Uh, but the important thing is about talking about it. You don't have to be an expert in it. You know, the thing is knowledge. It's knowing. It's talking the talk mainly about AI, but it especially at how it is being used as a tool in your function. I they all it's just knowing about it because when you get into the networking situation where you'll learn a lot about it. I always say the $5 information is what you get when you do an internet search, and the $100 information is what you get when you talk to people. And right now, you're curious. In finance, I want to know what's going on. Are you using it? This is what I've learned on the internet, but how are you using it? If you're using it at all?
Here, here's a comment from Nancy Nelson. As an HR consultant, I need to embrace technology.
Yeah.
I've helped several of my clients identify tech solutions this year. It's been a great learning experience for me.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you. Yeah, it's not. It's just for me. It's more about. Remember we talked about common ground. Common ground are those areas that I talked about. COVID, revenue, COVID, revenue, productivity, and AI and machine learning. It's not because it's a great question. You'll stand out in an interview when you're saying, "Are you using?" This is my knowledge about this. This is the job that you're interviewing me for, and this is what I know about how AI could be used as a tool in this job a little bit better. Are you using it? Go ahead.
I'm going to ask you something that might sound strange, but
Ron, everything you ask me is strange.
my son's 35, and very soon he's going to be one of the he's going to be one of phase 2 people, the 40 or older category.
Yeah.
Any comments to see what's trending with older millennials and how that's going to shape things?
Well, the good news is that the way that they're treating us, they'll be as old as we are. They're going to be as old, and they're still going to want to make decisions. Um, gosh, I talked to, oh gosh, who was it? This guy, he's 30, he is 35. He's the same age as your son. And he was starting to ask the questions a little bit. That, uh, again, 90's the new 61. Sorry, 90's the new 60. Okay. And it's not about impressing them about how about they use their language. Like this one guy from one of these younger groups says, hey, bro. I don't call him bro back. He calls me bro. It's great. It's the number one thing is listening. That's the biggest and most important aspect for anybody to have, from CEO down to the worker and everybody in between, is your ability. Do you really get what this person is saying? Because that person will say, I talked to a lot of people, but Ron Visconti really understands. He got me. He really understands me. That will never be out of. That will never be obsolete ever in anybody's career. And when you're, and it's been harder with COVID. It's easier to have coffee and go meet people face to face. Although today at noon here in Marin, we don't have to wear masks in coffee houses anymore. That's interesting. But there are obstacles, definitely. And but I think if I'm 35, 38, I want to. Oh, by the way, before I forget it, the 30 to 40, 35 to 40, that's the time to start positioning yourself to sit on a board when you're 50. So many people 55 or 60, well, I'll just go sit on a board. No, you won't. Maybe an advisory board of some little nonprofit, but when it comes to business, no, you should have done it a long time ago. So for example, if your son is thinking about position, like might want to sit on a board, this is the time to start positioning himself. So there's that. And essentially, what I've always said, if you haven't reached management by age 45, you're not ever going to reach management. Not going to happen. Did I answer your question, Ron? Probably not, but that's okay.
No, you gave some thinking, shifts in thinking.
Okay.
We haven't heard from some people, Damon, Shannon, any questions that you
By the
have?
way, I do bite. When you ask a question, I do bite. So thanks, Ann. I'm going to have you on my next one because you smile every time I try to make a joke.
Any questions? So this talk was about what's going on with the older worker now, future, and actionable items, and this whole week is devoted to just having some conversations, little conversations. Anyone have an insight or a comment they want to make?
Anybody disappointed about coming to this today? I would like to hear about why you're disappointed. Okay, we have a bunch of happy people on the line. That's good. Ron, hit him up for money. Have we reached our goal yet of $500,000, Ron, by raising money? No,
We're not close at the moment, Randy.
Okay.
We're slightly off. Slightly off. So any questions? So you gave values of the older worker. Could it not be said that some younger workers share those same values?
Oh, they do. Absolutely. It's important that you're aware of what's important to you and speak through the lenses of those values.
And I was going to say some of the values that we might have had aren't serving us well in this workplace.
Well, I would question that.
Okay. Well, loyalty, is that a valuable
I think so. No, I think as we know, I was asked to give a speech to a financial advisor, a wealth advisory firm, and it was a guy that I met. And they wanted me to talk to the new MBAs, a fairly large firm, like 15 MBAs that came on, and they're 20 somethings, maybe 25 at the oldest. And they said, yeah, we'd like to have you give a talk on careers and career development. I said, sure, but I said, be aware that my philosophy is, and this is about 10 years ago. I said my philosophy is 20s, your decade of 20s is experimentation. you try things out. So by age 30 or early 30s, you pretty much know where your direction, where you want to. This doesn't mean you can't change, but the only way to do it. In other words, if you graduated with a degree in finance and accounting at age 22, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to wind up there. When we graduated, yeah, that was you're a finance person. You're going to stay in finance whether you like it or not the rest of your life. I mean, that was the attitude. Millennials, not so much. But anyway, I told all that to the head of this firm, and he said, "Oh, you're not the right guy. We wanted somebody that was going to tell these guys what a great career they would have as financial advisors and how they would stay in it." And so they didn't hire me. That's okay.
Well, that's a point too. As I do talk to a lot of younger workers, there seems to be they seem more fluid to me than how we work.
Oh yeah, they have choices. They really have choices. And now that as I said earlier, late 20s, early 30s, they're beginning to question some of those choices that they may have had. Some opted maybe they volunteered at age 27 to continue. Others have tried several things, and they still can't make up their minds. They're 32, 33. And they still are not committed yet. They're still kind of at sea. I think technology has something to do with this because they haven't developed the personal skills that it takes to have a relationship. And not talking marriage here. We're just talking about, well, even in that case, they sure as hell don't want to wind up like their divorced parents, right? But no, it's really interesting around what are some of the important things to them. I was hoping that they play more of a role in climate in environmental issues, and they never did. I think they may at this stage. Gen Xers no, but I think the younger people coming up care about that. That's just my own personal agenda. Climate change, by the way, is another way. If you're a big believer in it, and all of that, that's another bridge. Remember, it's always about what you have in common. I just lost a person who doesn't think climate change is real. They just dropped out. That's okay.
Anna, did you have a comment?
Oh, yes, a question and a comment. Randy, you said some very impressive statistic there, number that I couldn't take note. I think you said that by 2030, the number of workers over 40 or over
Oh
50.
no! At the beginning, right now there are what they call. I got it here. Today there's 50 million workers that are considered older workers.
Uh-huh.
By 2030, that's going to rise to about 108 million, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics.
Yeah.
So how we're treated matters, because that's 8 years from now.
Mm-hmm.
And you get a 42-year-old, they're going to be 50, and they're going to be counted in this older worker.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Well, and then my comment was, my husband is with Lawrence Livermore National Lab.
Yeah,
I
Lawrence Lab.
I thought they really respected all the workers until Ron explained to me why. Because this famous lawsuit several years ago. Anyway,
Uh-huh.
what my husband sees now, he's been there for just over a year, is that in these big projects and meetings, they always have an older worker like himself who sort of has a different view, like a more holistic, like a bird's eye view. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
how to explain. And then they have younger people, younger hires. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
wondering if this is the result of like some change in the American educational system where things
Ah,
started becoming more specialized. And in his case, because he's Russian, it's, I think, a combination of culture
sure.
because he's got the School of Mathematics of Moscow, which is very umbrella kind of thing. But
Mm-hmm.
anyway, he thinks they try to do these hybrid teams. I don't know
No,
what you think.
and that's a good thing, right? That's
Yeah, 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 yeah.
no, that's all good. I mean, finding a way to get the job. I guess it comes down to finding a way to get the job done. It's only when the older worker, I'm sure your husband doesn't say this, but when the older worker says something like, "Well, in my day," no, don't, no, 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 no. It's only what matters now, and what's relevant now, and how will you be relevant in the future, how you can contribute to, how you can continue to contribute. And some of this is like this guy I talked to earlier this week or last week. He says he's not getting the assignment. He's 53. He's not getting the assignments, but see, he's only sees himself as a value only in doing these particular advanced assignments. He brings other things to the table other than that engineering capability. And part of that is realizing what you bring. He brings the wisdom. He says, there's got to be about communication. There's got to be another way to look at this. I mean, or just even having or managing conflict. I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff here that as an older worker he can help with, other than just being technical.
Thank you.
Does anyone have any experience that they want to share where being an older worker in a new workplace was considered a value?
I can't, Ron, I can throw some things out. If a person really is interested in working with fellow senior people, there are companies, and you can go do an internet search for companies specializing in boomer services. There's a lot of money. Boomers quote have $2 trillion to spend. I don't know where my trillion is going to come from, but anyway.
Santa Clara University used to have, I thought that they had some sort of event around that people.
They may have. It's so interesting to talk about this is one thing. But I put my clients on the hook. They are accountable to get some of the things we're talking about to get it done. And they're doing it. It's accountability, Ron. It's saying, so between now and our next session, what will you be doing? What do you want to commit to get done and not always comfortable with it, but for example, seeking out younger people.
So that
in reference checking, everybody always had their peers and their subordinates. Oh, talk to them. Almost nobody networked up to the C-suite, whatever. How do you think that things happen? How do you think you position yourself for promotion? How does that happen? It happens because up here they see you up here. It's not just doing a good job anymore. Doing a good job does not guarantee promotion. Doesn't work like that. Doing a good job and getting promoted. I'm sorry, Ron.
I was just going to make a comment. It's very understood. We all know ageism is here to stay, but that doesn't help our personal cases if we just stick with that.
No, it's being aware. But the biggest thing is not making jokes about ageism. I mean, it's just he's old, right? And so they break into, go retire and get out of my way, or you're useless, or I mentioned about the parties when somebody turned 60. I turned 60. What did I get? Maalox. Ha 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 ha. Hysterical.
So any final questions or comments from Larry, Anna?
I had one thing I want to go back to, and it's not directly the older worker, but you mentioned it during your presentation, Randy. I think it's something we have to touch on because it touches older workers and all of us. As you mentioned, the whole rise of AI and robotics and the fact that inevitably in our lifetimes, we could literally see the elimination of millions of jobs. There will be new jobs created because of technology, but I think many more will be eliminated. So doesn't that have obviously a significant reality check for our entire society, which might
Oh,
be
it does. It does.
guaranteed minimum
Larry,
income, and these things are coming to
no,
play
it
now?
does. I had one client who, you know, and we talked about it. She went on plan and started to launch, and I haven't heard back from her, but she was concerned about this. And I said, you know, quite frankly, I don't know of anything that's being done because 2025 is not that far away. And she was worried about the people that were going to slip through the cracks. I mean, like we don't have a labor shortage per se. We have a cheap labor shortage right now, in my opinion. It's a cheap. It's $20 an hour, people. The interesting, the irony in all of this is those $20 an hour people are probably repetitive jobs. You know, jobs with the same thing over and over again. And by 2000, they're at risk.
Yeah. You mentioned, there's a McDonald's, I think it's in Phoenix, which is, I think
the drive-through, Larry.
Yeah, and they have like an operator. There's one guy like in a central station, and he'll control 3 or 4 of the McDonald's in the area. So that's the way we're going, right? That's the direction I'm guessing.
No, it's yeah. I mean, for quite a while on Powell Street in San Francisco, there was a coffee place that absolutely serves coffee with robots, and they make the coffee. You can be walking to work in the city, and you put your order in, and your account's there. You just walk by and pick up your coffee. It's right there. I mean, yeah. I think there are a lot of jobs at risk. But you know, anywhere where there's analysis and judgment and wisdom, decision making in general, that's not in our lifetime, Larry. They may get there, but not in our lifetime. But I think that it'd be really interesting for everybody on the call here to take an old job that you had, or maybe a job description that you had or you're applying for, and see how much of it was repetitive. Monday through Friday, I do 3 hours of doing this over and over and over again. Just look at it and just think, you know, maybe I could I could have been replaced by AI or robotics. It's very possible. By the way, for everybody, I just saw this. Mick Jagger and the Rolling Stones came out with this back in the 70s. It's called "Start Me Up," and they had a music video of Nick doing his thing. They have a robot doing the same right next to him, split screen, doing the same dance as Mick Jagger. Oh, it's wow! My eyes opened up. I mean, they had it down. It's Boston Scientific. They're doing all the robotic stuff.
You mentioned robotics. Is it going to be more user? Do you think it's?
Oh yeah.
Help or hurt?
Absolutely. I've seen pictures now in Japan. They have a huge labor shortage in Japan. You know, much like us, seniors. You know, versus. There's just not enough people to go around to do those menial jobs, and so that forced them to develop. Remember, there was a movie, Frank and the Robot, with Frank Langella. There's some of this in there because he was retired, and they put a robot to watch him because he was a senior. So anyway, but Japan's having a lot of success with this. Fine motor skills. There's a bunch of things that robots can do. I mean, they don't look like Robbie. Okay, let's get clear with that. But they look like R2-D2, and they just go around and they do things. They make sure they take their pills, and they do other. They can actually put things in. They can put an order in for groceries or from Meals on Wheels. But what older people love about this, they can stay in their homes longer, and it's a whole lot cheaper, less expensive than assisted living. So yeah, I think robotics is here. It's only going to get better. And we got to pay attention to this because at some point, maybe I'll have it. No, go away, not now. He wanted to give me a cup. My robot wanted to give me another cup of coffee. But no, I see. I'm a sci-fi fan, so I'm highly biased in this direction.
So Wednesday, we're going to have an open forum. We'll have 4 breakout rooms. Randy's going to be in one breakout room. We're going to have a breakout room on being an entrepreneur, a breakout room of women and being over 40, and a breakout room on the career transition. What are your comments? How can we use the breakout rooms, and why should some of our attendees today go to that forum on Wednesday?
Because I'll be in it. That's why.
Well, that's compelling.
Thank you. You know, Ron is my straight man. Have you guys all noticed that? Ron's my straight. I'm the Jerry Lewis and he's the Dean Martin. You know, but anyway, I just want more dialogue, and you know, I will be hosting one of the breakout rooms, and I just really wanted to talk, get people to talk, just to talk about it. This is not really problem solving. You can bitch, that's okay. But I mean, I think once we get things out in the open, there will be some actionable items. And I mentioned it, you know, the title is there's some actionable items, you know, which is stop making jokes about old people, stop playing into it, stop contributing to it, and all that. I mean, there are some things, there are some definite things. Seek out younger people. You know, whoever you know, just you know, you'll start getting referrals, and mainly when you've got a good personal brand and you're relevant. Yeah, gee, you know, I got, you know, Ron, you need to be talking to so and so. You know, I think that you could probably help them. They're not. I don't know if they're hiring full time, and that's not the point. Full time thing is not the point. Everybody's got needs. You have to assume that to take care of a need, every organization's got $40,000 laying around somewhere to get it done, because it's a need, not a want. So yeah, no, I want people to come in and talk. I want to hear their ideas, really.
And we want to record that, by the way. Larry, I'm not quite sure I understand your comment. Do you want to share what it is about Cal State Long Beach?
I was actually, you know, it's as we get older, we make mistakes in chat. That was actually intended for a particular person. I accidentally got it to everyone. So now you know a little bit more about me. Everybody does, I guess.
Can't hurt.
Yeah.
Well, I saw your picture in the post office. I like the side view. Most wanted.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it's Larry's birthday, so we have
It
to
is my birthday.
a little slide.
No, really?
Yeah.
It didn't come up on my LinkedIn.
So we'll have to cut.
I don't know.
Larry
I've been getting a lot of stuff on Facebook with birthday stuff today, Randy.
Happy birthday, Larry. I mean, it'll come up. I'll send you birthday wishes.
All right, I appreciate that.
Any final comments or questions as we wind down? Last time well, we're going to have an open forum. Don't know how many people will show up, but we'll have 4 breakout rooms. We want to record it. We want to listen to you, what's going on in the workforce. And on Friday, we're going to have more of an inspirational, motivational talk on It's Our Time. And there's a little fee attached to that, so consider that. So Randy, thanks. You always get us thinking about where the workforce is moving and what we have to do to align.
Thank you. And it's just patience and just keep talking and sharing and staying with the program or staying with the mission. It will happen. And come on, we're boomers and we want to change the world, right? Still? Okay, let's do it.
You know, I love the quote that you gave at the very beginning about.
Which one?
Well, when you said when a man dies, a library is burned down. That's terrific.
That's an old proverb. I don't know where it came from. I'll try and look that up for you for a resource. It's there, or you can look it up yourself. It's there. I just can't remember
It's African, actually.
Which one?
It's African.
It's African. Thank you.
I love
It's an old African proverb. That's what it is. Okay.
Yeah,
Thanks so much, Anna.
it's terrific. Well, thank you all for attending, and please come Wednesday. And thanks, Randy, always for
My
putting
pleasure.
together programs.
You're welcome. I'll see you Wednesday. Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay, everyone.
Thank you.